Hello, everybody. Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Just Bleed Radio. Today is Sunday, November 10th, 2024, and this is the Weekend Roundup. Smell that?
What?
You smell that?
What?
Apex, son. Nothing else in the world smells like that. I love the smell of Apex in the morning. You know, one time we had a card bomb for 12 hours. When it was all over, I woke up. We didn't find one of them. Not one stinking dunk body. The smell. You know that warehouse smell? The whole card smelled like victory. Someday, this run's gonna end.
A centennial celebration, Apex 100, you only get one. A momentous and grand occasion for the near the future, onward they come. Our centennial celebration, who needs a crowd, the warehouse is fun. On a gracious and grand occasion, we bleed for the Apex, for onward we run. This is the 100, this is the top. This is the peak here and this is the spot. This is the paradise we long to touch. This is the Apex and we love it so much. Centennial celebration, Apex 100, you only get one. A momentous and grand occasion for the near the future, onward they come. Our centennial celebration, who needs a crowd, the warehouse is fun. On a gracious and grand occasion, we bleed for the Apex, for onward we run. So if it should come, the sun doesn't shine, the warehouse closes and shutters its blind. If it should happen, the world doesn't turn. If it's not the Apex, then we let it burn. Centennial celebration, Apex 100, you only get one. A momentous and grand occasion for the near the future, onward they come. Our centennial celebration, who needs a crowd, the warehouse is fun. On a gracious and grand occasion, we bleed for the Apex, for onward we run. The sun doesn't shine, the warehouse closes and shutters its blind. If it should happen, the world doesn't turn. If it's not the Apex, then we'll let it burn. The centennial celebration, Apex 100, you only get one. A momentous and grand occasion for the near the future, onward they come, onward they come. Onward they come.
At ease, bleeders. Welcome one and welcome all to episode 29 of the Weekend Roundup, the Just Bleed Radio Network flagship program. This is the morning after the night before, the day where we look back with hazy minds and glossy eyes at all the fights from the week that was in combat sports. In keeping with the recent theme of celebratory episodes, we're going to be breaking down the events of Saturday evening's momentous centennial event, UFC Fight Night Magny vs. Prates, aka Apex 100. Hard to believe we're here already, but they do say time flies when you're having fun. Anyhow, Saturday night wasn't just a party, there were also some fist fights. Thus, allow me to introduce my blood brothers so we can get into things. Live and direct from the West Coast, Best Coast, he's in the cradle of cultivation, Central California. But his number one exported crop is hot takes, not hot peppers. JBR's master of the mats, no special. How we doing, man? How you feeling?
That is, I should be hungover, but I'm not. But it was great night of fights that I had to rewatch this morning because I couldn't remember most of them. But I ended up enjoying the card twice, so there's that for you. Honestly, very good weekend so far. Not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah, it turned out better than we imagined, I think. And of course, the grand enforcer from County Yorkshire who spent many a day round Sheffield way. He used to beg for pennies with an effigy outside of a local shop. Now he just begs for likes on an MMA podcast. How's everything on your side of the world, DangerMouse?
It's all good. It's all good, man. It's all good. Fun last night, fun today. So yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what we like to hear. That's what we like to hear. And lastly, of course, I would be remiss if I failed to mention our very own veteran production team, the men responsible for all the sweet graphics and bits of editing wizardry you see around here. God willing, all three of them and their PCs stay alive for the foreseeable future. Give it up for Dave, Chatri, and Steven. Speaking of veterans, me and the crew would like to take a moment to wish a happiest of Veterans Day to everyone listening. I'll be your host who doesn't have the most IQ points or active hair follicles. I'm LazyBed. uh, well, all right, gentlemen. Break out the glasses and pop the cork on the champagne because it's party time. We finally reached the milestone that was UFC Apex 100. We've been seeing the promotional videos and teasers for months on end. The greatest night in the history of warehouse fights. 6 short films telling the evolutionary story of the UFC's industrial complex of combat. No, I'm fucking around, clearly. But it was indeed the 100th Fight Night event at the Apex. Another holy trash card on paper that only got worse when several fighters fell off on short notice and their replacements were forced to step in. Well, we're gluttons for punishment around here, though, so surely my two co-hosts slogged through this like I. Right? Right?
Absolutely, from beginning to end.
Yep. I had to watch it twice.
And then again this afternoon.
Yeah, that's true, too. Now, while the fights may have been mid, we'll try to bring the energy today. So, boys, this first topic, we'll just keep it brief and energized. Can you believe we've now watched 100 fight cards inside of a glorified garage in Las Vegas? Danger, give us some thoughts on this milestone anniversary.
Well, obviously it's a number. It's great to get to three figures. We've had some good fights in the Apex along the way. We've had some terrible fights in the Apex along the way. Saying that, we've had good pay-per-views and bad pay-per-views as well. So, we know it kept us going through the COVID era. So at least we can say that about Apex, and brought us a lot of new fans to the game, to MMA as well. So
Yeah, a whole fucking new generation that was birthed there.
yeah,
it's something that I think we don't often think about as kind of the old timers. That's good points there. Austin, a fellow proprietor yourself of Apexy Fight Nights, I think you got something cooking on this topic for a soon-to-be released video. So just give us, a quick preview of your thoughts on this being the 100th Apex event.
Yes. We put something out. Let's hope it works. The last thing we put out that I tried to be a part of, director-wise, it seemed to, be good. But we'll see. We'll see. I think this one will be to the liking of most fans. But everybody's got different tastes. I thought we did pretty good. Anywho, I like most. We like watching fights, and I think we, us here are a decent representative of the fan base. And the Apex itself is kind of like that tool that you kind of needed that set, when you couldn't use the other tool because it was borrowed, stolen, or broken. So you needed a different tool to kind of do the job. That tool ended up doing pretty well. And then you start overusing it, not to maintaining it, and pretty much just kind of like, you're pretty much on the last legs of how much you should be using it because it's not meant to be your primary tool. I think that's where we're at with the Apex. And last night she did pretty good. Uh, we were talking about it in that video, and amongst ourselves, we were like, this is, as Larry would say, fuck the Apex. But, you know, I I was interested just because hey, the main event, is interesting. Some of the fights on there, you never know when you watch fights, especially in MMA. You roll the dice, and sometimes you're getting crap, shoots, and this one I think ended up surpassing it. So it's not easy to say. And it's not a high bar to clear either. So
At least the Apex has always given us the sound of meaty hooks hitting bodies and heads. So, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that is true.
yep. Yep, that's like what was that first Apex event? I think we all just heard the crispness of the slaps and the punches, but that was during COVID when nobody was allowed to be in there. So it's like
Yeah.
kind of hard, but at the same time, it was like now there's fans and there's different things going on. It's just interesting. It's just interesting.
Yeah. It's sort of like whether intentional or non-intentional, it does provide a different atmosphere, and you do get a little bit more of a intimate sound, I guess you could say, up close and personal with the action because there isn't fans. But it has kind of that novelty has worn off a little bit. But hey, man, 100 big ones in the Apex. You gotta celebrate it whether you like it or not. It is the centennial event. Uh, my main thing that I actually was thinking this after we recorded that show for you, Austin. Coming soon, episode 2 of Neither Here Nor There. Cheap plug. But after we recorded that, I was thinking, like, are we partly to blame for being at Apex Show 100 and counting? Like, us fans who will watch this shit no matter what and will consume it no matter what they put out there. Aren't we kind of to blame for this?
I think the TV deal's more to blame for it than anything else. The UFC has produced X number of shows, so we have the Apex.
Yeah, true. Maybe they don't actually care about our viewership and they're going to fucking churn these shows out no matter what.
I mean, they've held pay-per-views in there. That's like Mouse is saying. The other part is that like they have the excess of fighters, which I don't mind. You have contracts that need to be filled out. You have fighters that are going to need fights that are healthy, and sometimes the matchups that you end up with are kind of just mid. So when you have the space and you have the availability of the fighters, and everybody's able to like say yes and fight, sometimes that's what you need. You just need to throw shit at the wall, and that Apex is for that. I think specifically, like you don't. They should treat the Apex like they would their now road shows, where it's just like, hey, there's a bunch of fights out there. People are willing to pay tickets to go see this shit. Who gives a fuck? It's like, you could kind of think about that mentality for the Apex, and kind of think about when people 500 plus or a couple thousand, maybe 1,500, trying to pay extra, insane prices for tickets to watch Derek Lewis slap the shit out of some fat heavyweight, and you know, like it's not, it's neither here nor there, but but try just a little bit more effort. I don't know.
Yeah. Let's be honest. On the weekends when there aren't fights on, we'd all take an Apex card.
That's true. I'm a glutton for
Quebec word
punishment.
degenerates.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'll fucking take it. I'll take whatever they'll serve me. I'm a fucking pig, and this is my trough. Just put whatever you give me in there. But yeah, to close that out, I just want to plug it one more time. I believe it'll be coming soon, shortly after this episode of the Roundup airs. Keep your eyes out, keep your eyes peeled for the upcoming dissection of the first 100 Apex events, hosted by none other than our very own Austin, aka No Special.
Minus Mouse, if
Thank
that
you,
makes
sir.
anyone happy.
We did try to call you. To be fair,
I saw your Discord message saying you were drinking at 2:00. Well, it was 2:00 in the morning my time, so I was like, no, I'm not going back downstairs and getting a drink at this time of the night.
fair enough, sir.
All right.
Fair
All
enough.
right. Okay. Now that we've discussed our thoughts on the road we traveled to get here, let's talk about some of the event itself, fellas. A far cry from a star-studded affair, but we were afforded a respite in the main event. It was one of the few times of the night when you wouldn't want to go for a smoke break, as full-flavored fighter and fighting nerd Carlos Prates looked to smoke another welterweight in gatekeeper Neil Magny. Now, as it turned out, Prates would have the fight wrapped up and the finish secured before his butt had finished smoldering in the ashtray. It didn't take much before the wheels started to come off of Neil Magny, both literally and figuratively, as the leg damage mounted and Carlos ultimately would get the KO finish with a bit of a phantom punch, one might say. 450 of the very first round. Pretty devastating, pretty devastating. A lot of doubters coming into this one that thought that this would be the fight where potentially Prates got exposed, maybe his gas tank got tested, but that wouldn't be the case. This fight would be the fourth win in this year for Prates, all four by finish, which now ties him for the second longest KO streak and third longest active finish streak in the UFC. Now for Magny, this is his second loss in a row, the first time he's dropped back-to-back fights since 2013. Whew. Thoughts on the fight itself, and then what's next for Carlos Prates? DangerMouse, we're going to go to you first. What did you think of this main event, and what do we do with Prates? Do we give him JDM or Jeff Neal in Australia like he called for? What do you think?
Yeah, well, the fight itself was, as you said, it was Magny started off. He actually looked pretty good for the first, 3.5 minutes of the fight. And then those leg kicks started landing, and then he started getting pushed back against the cage. And then, as you said, Prates did what he does and fit and landed. I know a lot of people were complaining that Magny had faked it and took a dive. He didn't for the slightest. That punch clipped him right kind of behind the ear across the temple. Might have been a glancing blow, but as Prates said, if you want to step in and take one of my glancing blow punches, you're more than welcome to. And I'm going to pass on that one. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll join in for a cigarette, but not for a fight. Not for a fight. Yeah, he did what kind of we were hoping he'd do. I guess he's, as you said, he's four fights this year, 4 KOs or 4 finishes. I forget exactly the order. Which normally would probably put him in the running for Fighter of the Year at the UFC, and he's distinctly in third place at best this year. He's got Ilya to beat, he's got Alex Pereira to beat, and he's not going to beat either of their performances this year. So I'm afraid it's looking like a bronze medal for Prates at the best. And yeah, I think his call out was great. I think JDM's probably a step too far. He's only just stepping into the top 15 at the moment. Jeff Neal would be a very, very tough and fun fight for him. We know that's going to be a stand and bang kind of job. Neal isn't exactly renowned for his grappling, so we should get a fun and entertaining fight from it. I'd love to see that fight. I'm not sure when it'll take place. I guess he's going to need a few months off. Well, I guess Prates doesn't really need that many months off. Probably better he does it now before he starts smoking again. Worrying about his cardio there if he keeps inhaling those coffin nails. Yeah, love to see more of him. He looked fantastic. His takedown defense against Magny was very good. I think, didn't he slightly reverse it? Magny looked like he was going to get a takedown, and the next minute Magny was on his back with Prates on top of him, and he separated, got back up, and as they went backwards and forwards. So yeah, I don't know where to go with this one. I think I've pretty much answered your question. Yeah, let's be a Jeff Neal fight. Great.
Yeah, I like that fight as well. I agree with you to an extent that JDM might be a step too far. I would like to kind of see him maybe take that leap into the deep end of the pool and just see how he fares. But I also don't mind the fight against Jeff Neal. Excuse me. I agree that it would probably be a really fun fight to watch. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he wants the fight in Australia specifically. I can't remember when they're going there, but it's in the next few months. So
Yeah, it's
sometime.
February, I think, because Sean Strickland does not want to go there.
There you go. There you go. So yeah, February. I think that's a perfect timeline. And of course, I've mentioned this in prior episodes. He wants to go back there because that is where his daughter lives, who he doesn't have custody of. Call me John Anik for saying that. But that's why he likes to fight in Australia, because he gets to visit his daughter, and so double whammy, man. Give the guy another fight when he wants it. He's earned it, and Australia seems to be the place to do it.
Yeah, free flight to go see his daughter. Fantastic.
Yeah, man, he's a fun guy, really fun guy to watch, and it's going to be exciting to see what the ceiling is for him. No special. What are your thoughts on this fight? What did you think of the fight itself? And then, like I asked DangerMouse, who do you think is next for Prates? Did you like somebody from his two callouts there of JDM or Jeff Neal, or do you got somebody else in mind?
First off, the fight was great. We had questions about how, if Prates was going to be pushed against somebody A, closer to his size and length, and B, who was a storied veteran, and Neil Magny, right? You hadn't seen him face someone like that. I mean, the closest was the Leech, and he kind of dispatched him fairly easily. But again, the Leech is kind of one of those guys who he's not as well rounded as most fighters, and he's is susceptible to certain things, especially when certain prospects come through. However, Magny pushed the pace with the grappling and the clinching, made him have to work, and that was the thing I wanted to see. I wanted to see if he was the guy we were expecting him to be, and he is better than I expected. He was giving answers to every single clinch attempt, every single takedown attempt, and managed to even take down Magny himself. So, thankfully, my questions were answered watching this fight, and then the finish was inevitable. You could just see Magny just responding badly to getting hit so hard. The leg strikes, as Mouse was saying, the strikes pretty much were leading to an inevitable finish, whether it came in the first or the very next round. Matter of fact, that final set of strikes, Magny literally looked like he was trying to avoid getting knocked out, and then ended up getting knocked out to begin with. And you can see it the minute it happens, because the minute he gets clipped on that temple, like we were saying, it's like it doesn't look like a real punch. It is just kind of like lands nice and quick, and then he just drops. And then I think he was just like out on his feet already, and his body just gave up. And then pretty much the knockout blow is him like landing on his own face. Like, you can't ask for a better performance from Prates, especially against a guy as storied as Magny. My concern, I'll say this, it was an A+ performance from Prates. You can't ask for more of him. As far as his next opponent, where have I heard us asking for higher quality matchups from guys who just enter the rankings? And then what usually happens when they enter the rankings, then all of a sudden the fights change. They get harder. Injuries happen. Guys take longer layoffs because they're waiting for fights. Welterweight has notoriously been that division where guys are prima donnas, don't want to fight each other. Colby Covington, fuck you. Pretty much, comes to mind. The division's interesting right now. I would say I can't look at the rankings in front of me right now. Who is fit? Because Prates would arguably be taking Magny's spot, correct? Because Magny was what, 15?
15th, yeah.
Okay, so who is 14, 13, 12, and 11? I would say
14 is Luque, who is allegedly fighting Nick Diaz, I believe, isn't he?
Yeah.
Right.
Page MVP is 13th. Michael Morales 12th, and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson at 11th. I think either Thompson or Page would be quite fun fights for him as well.
I would say, because we just saw Joaquin Buckley knock out Wonderboy, and Luque's out of the question. Realistically, it's Michael Morales or it's my MVP. And there's a part of me that likes the MVP matchup, because that is a hard matchup for anybody to take. Plus, there is more people watching MVP fight than they are watching Michael Morales fight. Michael Morales is a bigger athlete. I would like to see Michael Morales take another fight within the top 10 first, or within, just opposite of him, because now he's another prospect. We don't want to, possibly have two prospects fight and lose them. Like
Yeah,
Prates,
that's
I
what I
don't
was
know if
gonna
it's a
say.
I want to qualify Prates as a prospect, but he's a
Yeah.
guy. He's new to the division. He's on a 4-fight win streak. Finishes in the last 4 now.
Mhm.
I would say Prates versus MVP. I can't
Sure.
think of a good, I can't think it can't be bad. I don't think that one could be
Yeah.
bad. If I was going to do it, and you're not rushing him to the stage, give him that
Yeah,
fight.
that's a good shout. That's a good shout. I don't mind that. The only problem that I would see with that is that all MVP has been calling for lately after the Shara Bullet knockout has been a matchup with that one-eyed bastard.
Really?
He wants to move up to middleweight to take on Shara Bullet for one fight.
Really?
I don't know if that's
Why?
a scheduling thing. Well, it's because Shara called out Izzy and Izzy's MVP's boy. It's a whole thing.
All right.
So that I'm
Everybody's
just saying.
calling out Bullet at the minute. What's his face?
Yeah.
Bo Nickel wants him as well.
Uh-huh. So I'm just saying that's just kind of what MVP has his sight on. So I don't know if he's going to sign to fight somebody behind him. Uh, and then the matchup with Michael Morales, I don't know if the UFC is going to want to put two, not necessarily contenders or prospects, because I would say Morales is more of a prospect and uh, Prates is more of a contender. So I don't know if they're going to want to pit them against each other necessarily. So I do kind of like his call outs. I think it was smart of him to call out JDM because of the Australia connection and the possibility of him being able to slot in there for that. And while I don't necessarily love the call out of Jeff Neal, it makes sense timeline wise. So it could go either way. But the last things I wanted to close on here before we move on to the next topic is that whether you hate the man or you love the man, the picture with Prates and the Fighting Nerds after the fight with John Jones and Khalil and Aljamain Sterling and everyone that was all there in that photo, that was one of the photos of all time. Like that's fucking a sick picture.
I made it better, but yeah, it's quite a good one.
Yeah, maybe Dave will slot that in here. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. That was a fucking badass photo. Like that's something you show your kids when you're older. Uh, the other thing that I wanted to mention before we move on, and while we're still on the topic of burning one down, I wanted to highlight that this was the first UFC event held in Nevada since cannabis was officially removed from the state's list of banned substances. Back at the beginning of 2024, the Combat Sports Anti-Doping Organization, CSAD, and Drug Free Sport, or DFS, removed cannabis from their banned substances lists, and as of October 30th of this year, the NSAC, Nevada State Athletic Commission, has also agreed to remove it from their PED listings. So, shout out to Nevada for getting with the times, because I bet there was several guys and gals last night that fought that were enjoying some sweet, sweet ganja, whether they won or lost.
Yeah, it is somewhere. Nick Diaz is shouting at a cloud.
Yeah.
What's up? Where you at, George?
I mean, goddamn, 2024. It's only been legal recreational in Nevada for I don't know what 3 years now, 4 years, maybe longer, and they just
Yeah.
finally removed it. Yeah, I mean, come on.
The government moves slowly, unless it's something that they all want.
I mean, that's a major conflict of interest to have something legal, recreational in your state, but your state athletic commission calls it a performance enhancing drug. That's I don't know. Sounds fucked up to me.
And the times they are changing.
All right. Where was I? Yeah, okay. All right, gang. That was the main event discussion, but how about the rest of the card? Let's take a look at some of the fights from the rest of Saturday night. All right, how about in the first bout of the evening when Coventry, England's Melissa No Mess Mullins mauled and clubbed the foundation right off the face of Polish UFC newcomer Claudia Segula, a minute 20 into round two. Any thoughts on this one, Mouse?
Yeah, I mean, a decent opener. Ladies fighting. I know a lot of people were picking Claudia Segula for being the pretty one, which is always a bad idea, as MMA Guru likes to say. You should never pick the pretty fighter. Not saying that Melissa is particularly bad looking. I'll give her that defense, but yeah, it was an entertaining enough opening fight. We had a finish, which is kind of unusual in a ladies' fight. I've actually got it running on the screen in front of me right now. I've just seen when Segula tried to take Mullins down, and then she reversed it, and she ended up being the one on the bottom. And then it was kind of a back and forth first round from what I remember and watching what I'm watching. And then in round two, Mullins came out, and it was like, yeah, she got a mount, didn't she, at the end of round one? And they only had a few seconds to work from there. And then she came out in round two and just took her straight down, and that was it. It was like mount. There's 4.5 minutes left, and you're thinking, oh, this is going to go badly, and that's exactly what happened. She got her stretched out very nicely, grabbed hold of Segula's arm, and was just holding that and then punching her with the other hand. And Segula couldn't do anything. She ended up kind of tucking her head underneath her. And I think it Tonioni was the ref. I forget which one it was. And he just stepped in and stopped it after a few punches. Decent stoppage, decent enough fight as an opener. Yeah, congratulations, ladies, especially to my English girl.
Yeah, I had forgotten about that wrist control. It was like she didn't know what to do there. And like you mentioned, that it was almost as though Mullins got that takedown at the end of the first there and was like, well, that was just too easy. And then she came in the second and was like, oh, I'm going to go right for that again. And it, again, like butter, boom, right to it. But yeah, how about you, Austin? You got any thoughts on this, the opener of the night?
Mullins just big sistered her. Like, it's not even a fact of like she was technically better, which you could tell, someone who looks like they just started fighting and someone who's been training for years, and they just haven't fought very often, right? And it looked like, one training partner was like a varsity and the other one was a JV. So it just comes with it.
That's a good analogy, though. She did big sister. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's just interesting because it's like women's MMA has been struggling, especially in the bantamweight division, and Mullins might be someone we'd be talking about, maybe a year or two down the line, possibly being a contender. But it's women's MMA. Sometimes matchups just aren't available, so we'll see. Because I was interested to see how this one was turning out because I remember seeing Mullins last time and I wasn't sure if I was impressed or not. And then I saw this fight. I'm like, all right, this is an easier opponent. Let's see if she could do it again.
Yeah. I mean, supposedly, Segula had, I want to say some kind of like credentials from some other organization coming in. They were talking about it as she was making her walk out. Oh, and I guess we should probably mention as well that Melissa Mullins did get her black belt after this this win here. That was a thing that happened.
Yeah, that was a thing, and then her terrible breakdancing was a thing.
Yeah,
I had forgotten that.
Yeah, only the Aussie woman at the Olympics did worse breakdancing, I think.
Who I just saw, she retired from breakdancing today.
Oh, I'm crushed.
I can't imagine why.
I'm sure JK is broken-hearted. He wants here again representing his country.
How can you just throw that kind of talent in the bin? It makes no sense. Okay, let's move it along before we say anything worse. My last piece of advice will be, Melissa Mullins, just make sure you keep one eye on the prize. You either get that or you won't. Okay, next up, it was time for former Tough Cast member Trayshawn Gore to squeeze the gosh darn life out of 6'6" string bean Antonio Tricoli's skinny neck in less than 90 seconds. Gore now a mere 5-2 as a professional, as Tricoli drops to 12-5 and likely faces being cut from the UFC. Hot takes on this one, Austin? Anything?
This is who I wanted to see. Gore was a guy who everybody kind of looked at as a potential prospect, and kind of went away for a little bit after kind of bringing on 2 back-to-back poor performances. One was a knockout loss, and the other one was a decision loss to Battle. Right. This is the guy we were expecting to see. Young kid, capable of pretty good fight quality, and I realistically just keep feeding him lower level guys. This would be the thing that the UFC should do often. Give guys who are talented like Gore, that have the ability to put on entertaining fights. Don't feed them high level guys yet. Keep them at the apex. Keep feeding them regional level guys. If they lose, oh well, then they just keep them at the apex. That is the point of the apex. They just keep them there. Keep feeding them guys like Tricoli, so that way when he fights someone, he's at least on a little bit of a run. I don't know. We'll see. But can't complain. Gore looked good.
Yeah, he looked pretty damn good. I think he was coming off of a rather long layoff. It might have been an injury layoff, and then, like you said, had two pretty tough losses. And then, as like I was also mentioning prior, that record of his, man, like the guy's barely had any fights. He is literally a baby in the sport. So you got to keep building a guy like this. You can't move him too fast. You got to slow play him and let him get some dirt on his tires before you do anything crazy with him. What do you think, DangerMouse? Do you see this one?
I did indeed, yeah. Seen it twice, as I said. I think did Gore land a leaping knee in this one, and that's what started the beginning of the end, as it were. There were a couple of jumping.
I believe so.
Yeah, I thought it was. Again, I've got it on the background, but I haven't got to that part yet. Yeah, very nice. Sunk that gilly in, which I'm sure Dustin Poirier was very happy about. Don't be silly jumping. He didn't jump it; he just hooked him up, and really, really nice finish. Considering he's a lot smaller than Tricoli, he just stuck his arm underneath it and then leant back, lifted him up, and he tapped pretty quick. Excellent performance. I didn't particularly remember Gore, but I'll remember him a little bit more from that fight. Yeah, another finish at the start of the card. As you said, nice, fastly done. The UFC must have been panicking in the back because they were having to shuttle those fighters through like crazy.
Yeah. It was a big win for Gore and something that he really needed, because he was a guy, when he came in, he was making some really bold claims right off the bat. Some people might remember he was saying he was going to be a double weight champion, 2-division champion, and one of the youngest champions ever, and da. So a lot of people were kind of giving him the shit over recent times, and rightfully so, because there were some bold claims to make, and then to not back him up was didn't look good on him. So to get another finish, his second finish by this same arm-in guillotine, violent arm-in guillotine, man, when he wrenches that thing, like, he's getting these guys up off their feet. Like, I would not want to have my head in that vice. The other thing I wanted to mention was, sorry, Antonio Tricoli, but this is what you get, man. I've heard a lot of stories. This guy's a bit of an asshole behind the scenes. Very possessive, we'll say, to say the least, of his wife, I believe it is, Mackenzie Dern, and attacking people, sucker punching them, trying to set people up to be sucker punched. And then when he does actually fight a legally sanctioned fist fight in the cage, he loses spectacularly most every time.
Now, I'm just going to quickly undead wrong myself there, because it wasn't Gore that landed the flying knee. That's the next fight.
Oh, okay. Daz won't get on your ass now. Okay, yeah. So fuck you, Antonio Tricoli. That's all I got to say about that. All right, from middleweight down to bantamweight, no twister, but Damone Blackshear issues a severe storm warning as he flurries on and then submits Cody Stamann. Stamann did not look good in this one at all, but Blackshear looked sharp as a tack. What did you guys think of this one? An RNC win. Pretty fucking nice, if you ask me. DangerMouse, what did you have?
Yeah, just a nice job. But this was the one where he landed the flying knee. I'm surprised Stamann even survived that, to be honest, because that was really solid. You heard the clunk when it hit his chin, and then Blackshear just didn't give him any chance to recover. Really, I think they ended up rolling around on the floor for a little bit. and then eventually managed to get the back, sunk the guillotine, sunk the rear naked in, and Stamen tried to hang on for it, but you could see that choke slipped him really, really deep, and it didn't take him long to tap after it had gone in deep on his neck. It was a choice there: tap or go to sleep. And I guess he didn't fancy a nap at that time of the night. Yeah, as you said, the Twister guy, the one that everyone forgets because everyone remembers Zombie and Bryce Mitchell, but Blackshear for someone is the forgotten third one. Yeah, great performance. Can't wait to see him again.
Yeah, yeah. A surprising submission threat because I don't think a lot of people really peg him as a BJJ guy, but fucking hell, man, that guy's got some violent, vicious submissions. Anything on this one, no special?
I don't know if you guys had heard the interview with him and Junkie, that being Cody Stamen, where he was kind of giving out to judges for wanting to know how you score damage. And he was kind of like thinking, these guys, no one could be consistent on damage. And, part of it, I think the guys who are interviewing him, I forget their names right now, they were saying, it's not consistent throughout each one, but the idea is there's like a criteria. And he's like, well, how do you actually score damage? This is how do you score damage? I don't know what that means. What does that mean? Well, he's a crash course in scoring damage. Getting knocked back, getting knocked down, getting nearly knocked out, and then getting, damaged upon grappling situations. If he didn't know what damage was, he knows it now. It's like, it's just interesting to me when, you can argue about the criteria, but when you don't know what the judges are looking for, I can understand where he's coming from. But like, you got to also know, like, his Stamen's unfortunately too small, size wise for this division. He's a little muscle hoss of a guy, but I think if he had less muscle, he would probably be a great flyweight. But because he's packed on so much muscle on his frame to be a bantamweight, he's kind of stuck here. Guys like Damon Blackshear, or guys in general who are just slightly taller, slightly longer, more skilled in other areas, he's going to struggle with that. And, this is a proof in the pudding, unfortunately. Looking at Damon Blackshear, this dude's on a run. He's kind of like one of those dark horses of the division. He's fucking vicious. He's also very, very good. And he's very calculated. He doesn't waste time. So it's nice to see him just kind of go out there and actually be effective in whatever he's doing. And that's something it's you don't see too much of. And I honestly cannot wait to see him fight
Yeah,
again.
yeah. And for Stamen, man, 35, 3 losses in a row at bantamweight. Excuse me. That's tough, man. Speaking of learning about damage, following that, it was time for Chuck Buffalo Charles Radke to drop Semi the Jedi and then drop a tear in an emotional but slurless victory. You can't really say much negative about his performance here. Gets the referee stoppage against Matthew Semmelsberger, 51 seconds of round number 1. What do you got on this one at 170, Austin?
What's interesting? I kind of figured they were both similar in their styles. Just two big, stocky welterweights who weren't going to take a step backwards, and whoever landed first was going to take control of the fight. I just didn't realize it would be so quickly. I think that was the thing, right? Because Semmelsberger is known for having hands, dropping his opponents, but he struggles with the wrestling. Radke is kind of like the big hoss of the division, or he's one of the bigger hosses of the division. Big, stocky guy. You can decision him if you're careful, but you can't give him a whole lot of openings or leeway. Very limited, but dangerous. And Radke was the first one to land, and pretty much that was the end of the fight. Like he just never let Semmelsberger off the hook, and it was a good one. It was a good one because you're kind of looking at Radke coming off of the loss to Prates, so this is a good bounce back for him. The Semmelsberger's he's been up and down as of late, so this is unfortunate. Another setback doesn't help, and I hope they keep Semmelsberger and they give Radke an equivalent fight because he doesn't need to go up, but he doesn't need to take a step back either. Good fight though for however long it lasted.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, and Radke is training with a good camp right now. He's with Valley Flow in Chicago, same camp that your welterweight champion Bilal Muhammad trains out of. So
Boo.
surrounded by good company, despite what some here may tell you. Uh, what about you, Danger? Did you catch this one? What'd you think of old Chuck Buffalo's performance here?
Yeah, outstanding performance. Obviously, this was the one on the from the Discord, the picks. This was the fight that divided everyone the most. I think it went like 8-5 or something like that on the Discord, with generally the most of us going for Radke, as it turned out. Just watched the finish. This was the one that was arguably a bit of a quick finish. The referee looking like he wanted to jump in,
Mm-hmm.
and he started to jump in, and then he's backed off for a tiny moment. Then Radke stepped in again, and Semmelsberger kind of slumped forward a little bit. I don't think he was completely out, but he was in a bad shape. But
Yeah.
he looked kind of bright eyed enough when he got back up. But you never know. You know, it can take fighters just a couple of seconds to recover from a blow and start to look a little bit better. But had Radke been allowed to press forward, he might well have sent him to the ground completely flat out, unconscious. Great, and yeah, great performance again. Looked really mean with his hands. Can't fault his performance at all. Again, another one I'd like to see again. Ideally, not in the Apex.
Yeah. If you say nothing else about the guy, he can sure fucking slug him out and swing with the best of them. So
Yeah,
you got that kind of dynamite in your hands. You're a threat on any given night, no matter what your skill level is. But obviously, room for improvement. I think he's relatively young. I'm not exactly sure how old he is, but I want to say in his 20s. All right, well, we may as well mention the next fight also. Easy DS with an easy TKO against short notice newbie Zach Scroggin. The old vet Dos Santos takes Scroggins O and gets it done quick in just a minute and 15. Did you see this one, Danger Mouse? Catch this one?
yep, sure did.
Yeah.
I owe Dave an apology for this one because I told you never to bet against the O, and he didn't, and I did. So I picked the win up on this one. Yeah, the Capoeira guy, isn't it? Eliza Zaleski dos Santos. Looks really fantastic doing capoeira, that's for sure. And yeah, took care of the new guy very, very easily. Didn't make a tough job of it at all. I don't know how short notice it was for Zach Scroggin. Bad luck for him, but he's got his face on the board. People know him; they've seen him now. He stepped up at that short notice, and I think that goes some way to getting you some respect in the UFC. Certainly with Dana and Hunter Campbell. Yeah, great finish again. This was, I think, was this the fourth finish of the night, which matched Canada, the entire number of finish wins we had in Canada last week, and that was in the first four fights. So yeah, great job.
Yeah, great job outside of the weigh-in where he was one of the guys that did miss weight. But like we said, it was short notice. I'm pretty sure extremely short notice too, because Dalby fell off relatively soon, right before the card was to take place. So yeah, so it got knocked out, and then also had to pay Zaleski dos Santos 20% of his measly purse. So that kind of sucks.
Oh dear.
Oh well. Oh, no special. What do you got on this one?
My only thing is, if you're going to breakdance again, don't do it after beating a last-minute regional opponent, because it doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. I mean, he did. What are we gonna say? Dos Santos looked like he was supposed to beat the guy. He beat the guy, and then he acted like he won the fucking, like a title eliminator or something. Like, come on, dude. Like, he says, he didn't look like he was ready for a fight. He looked like he showed up for a paycheck, and I can't blame the kid. Not to say he, didn't want to fight or wasn't looking to win. He just didn't look ready. Dos Anjos is a veteran of a high order. That's not a guy you take lightly. And for Dos Santos to kind of just be like, yeah, I did it. All right, good. You did what you were supposed to. You were supposed to win. You're supposed to make it look like this was a regional guy who just showed up. Like that's what you were supposed to do. And that's all it was. Nothing special about it. Dos Santos should be, fighting someone, trying to get back into the rankings, but I doubt that's going to be the case for him.
Yeah. Well, the fight with he was supposed to face Nicholas Dalby, and that was going to be a rematch actually of a fight from like way back in 2019 or something. Which that would have been a much more competitive and fun fight. Dalby's a fucking dog. Uh, but yeah, like you said, if anything, this is one of the times where your post fight celebration should have been like the shh symbol and the quiet the crowd down. Like let's not celebrate. Let's just fucking chalk this one up as a W and go home.
An air of subtlety would be nice, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, next one we'll highlight was the main card opener, where the entire warehouse was singing "His humps, his humps, his lovely Dusko lumps," as Mansour Abdul Malik played the hits on Dusko Todorovich's face. The swelled up Todorovic was quick work for Abdul Malik, who remains undefeated at 7-0. Austin, any thoughts on this fight?
There is a new prospect at middleweight. He, goddamn, it was impressive, and he did not give him any moment to breathe. It sucks too because I thought to Dusko Todorovic was a guy who's going to be able to push back just a little bit, and he did for as long as he did. He just looked like he was in survival mode from the get go, and that knee that dropped him pretty much was the beginning of the end. He got clipped coming in to Malik's guard when Malik came up to the cage, and Dusko pretty much ran right into him, got clipped, and then that was all right, first bad move right there. And then the second was the knee to the face, after trying to engage in the clinch game. He just never took his foot off the gas, and dangerous, because sometimes the guy can survive and get out and come back at you when you're out of energy. But he just never let him off the hook, and he pretty much battered him from pillar to post. That's the kind of thing you do when you're showing up. That's what you want. He looks good. Can't wait to see him fight. And again, and ideally, again, let's hope the UFC learns we don't need to rush the prospects. Not yet.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
don't need to rush them.
Yeah. I mean, that's a perfect time to circle back to my point from before when we were discussing Trayshawn Gore, another guy who only has 7 professional fights. Like, this is a good example from Abdul Malik, who we were discussing in the pre-show. We all kind of realized after the fight was an extreme couture guy of handling yourself the right way and not overselling what you're capable of, having a bit of humbleness and some dignity and some quiet confidence and just getting things done, as opposed to saying you're going to be a double champ or something like that in your UFC debut. The same record as far as amounts of fights he's had as a professional as Trayshawn Gore, but the public opinion on him is a lot different, and we're all sort of viewing him in a different light. And part of that is the performances, and I think it's also how the guy carries himself. So yeah, good on him both ways there. DangerMouse, what did you think of this shellacking?
Yeah, well, that's a good description of it. I wasn't really aware of Abdul Malik before this fight. I certainly wasn't aware that he was Extreme Couture. Obviously, he must be a sparring partner of Sean Strickland. So I guess that's improved his sparring somewhat, or his fighting somewhat. Todorovic, I only really knew, this is kind of a funny one, I only really knew him from my Hamzat video because he was the guy who pulled out against John Phillips and allowed Hamzat onto Yaz Island to fight him. So that was the only reason I knew the name. I was like, oh yeah, I know that guy. I've never seen him fight, but I know who he is. Yeah, great performance. Not Todorovic. It was Guru who said it in his video today reviewing the fights. People have got to stop grabbing for knees and ankle hooks, especially when the guy stood above you, because he will drop bombs on your head. And that's exactly what Mansour did. He smashed him into the ground, and he didn't learn from it. He kept grappling for it. I think he was just maybe stunned, concussed by that point. Who knows? Yeah, great performance by Mansour. As you said, pretty relaxed in his how he finished the fight, and not screaming his head off and saying how great he was or anything. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Another one I'll look forward to seeing.
Yeah, that's a good point about I guess Guru made about not grabbing for the ankles and the fucking leg locks and shit like that when you got a guy standing over you pounding on you like that. Because I mean, he was just getting fucking hammered in there, like just pounded on, man. And the lumps that were developing on his poor fucking head, like I said, I think on the Discord, or I might have said it in main card minutes chat. It was like a cartoon, like the way as soon as he was getting hit, the bumps were just swelling and fucking. It was just popping out immediately. I've never seen nothing like it. All right. Lastly, the co-main event of the night, RDR, his debut in the UFC, slow cooked GM3 in a 3-round Dutch oven for a nice finish. Man, a fight that teetered on the ridiculous at times, sloppy in the early portions, but one that would ultimately lead to a sweaty and spent De Ridder claiming he'd be ready to fight next week at that one place. What's it called? Madison Square Garden? Yeah, that's it. That's the one. I don't know about all that. I don't know if he's gonna be ready to fight next week. He looked pretty rough shape after that fight. But DangerMouse, what were your takeaways from this co-main event?
Yeah, and I knew GM3, obviously. He's pretty well another one that's fallen to Hamzat's arms there, knocked out in 17 seconds, if I remember rightly. Renier de Ridder, I knew absolutely nothing about, but I kind of presumed he was a striker. And I don't know if he's generally known for that, but he didn't look a very good, particularly great striker. Meerschaert was kind of landing a few more shots on him than he was landing on Gerald, to be honest, in the early part of the fight. I was really worried about my record at this point because I'd only lost one fight up to this point, and I thought RDR was going to mess me up and cost me another win. And he didn't. He managed to very slick arm triangle at the end. I'll give him that. It was a really nice switch of position, sunk that arm triangle in on GM3, and you can see GM3 was like, I'm in trouble now. I'm in trouble. Yeah, I'm going to have to tap now. And I think RDR said it himself. I've just GM3. Yeah, not a good fight in terms of technique. Very scrappy. Slightly, I don't know. I can't say I loved the fight. I can't say I've massively enjoyed it, but it was a win. He got the win. A little bit sloppy. Not so.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. He's an X1 fighter, isn't he?
Yeah.
So I guess we've now seen what the one fighters do in the UFC, and he managed to get past a crafty old veteran against GM3. Yeah. I don't want to see him in Madison Square Gardens. That is for sure. But yeah, congratulations on the win. That's what you're there to do. You got it. You got the finish. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say on that one.
A finish and a win in your debut is never a bad thing.
Nope.
I will say Austin will probably be able to correct me even further on this, but I think De Ridder is one of the rare Dutch submission artists. He's more of a jiu-jitsu guy than he is stand-up.
That's
You would think
illegal.
you would think he'd be a kickboxer, but I think he's more of a submission guy. And then you bringing up one made me think of something else. I don't know if anyone caught it, but in his post-fight interview, he shit on one, and he had some not so nice things to say about one. So yeah, anybody wants to go back and catch that? I think he flat out told people, "Don't go to one. There's absolutely no reason to go to one. Like you don't want to go there." And he's one of their former double champions. So, yeesh, not good.
Yeah.
All right, Austin, close us out with your thoughts on RDR versus GM3.
My first thought was, oh, okay, the guy who is basically a lesser version of Luke Rockhold, coming into the UFC from his 2 losses at one championship and then leaving one championship to fight in a regional promotion in the Middle East, and then getting signed by the UFC, surprisingly, which was interesting because I would imagine, given his his record, he's probably an interesting pickup, and the fact that he's a former champion of another larger organization gives casual fans a little bit of a look. Hardcore fans definitely love this kind of acquisition for a fighter. We want to see the best fight the best at their best. I think I've said that several times throughout our broadcasting thing, our career. our current state of the UFC is, let's pick up a regional guy and then just, throw him into the wolves. It's fine, Whereas this one seems to be the opposite, which is good. You don't get this very often, and when we do, we appreciate it. Except when it looks like Rene de Ritter seemed to struggle against a crafty veteran who has, it's been up and down. It's been up and down. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I thought he looked bad. I particularly thought he looked bad. He struggled a lot in the striking, which you're 6'4", dude. At a bare minimum, if you're taller than the guy, you got to keep your limbs out, right at his face. Give yourself some measuring distance. At least Rockhold knew how to fucking strike. But, he was the best mixture of tall, lanky, dangerous kickboxer who was also a fucking animal on the ground who just murdered you like as if he was an alligator. No offense to Chatri, but the submission game seemed to be kind of balanced, and Mershart was kind of like willing to stand more, and I can understand why. He was actually landing on him until he got dropped. I particularly looked at it and thought this wasn't the best performance from. I'm not sure if this gives me hope that he can be competitive at middleweight with some of the other guys. Be interesting to see. I'd say if he could beat Mershart, fuck it, put him up against Bo Nickel. Wait, no, never mind. Bo is not at that level yet, but I don't want to reward Bo either. Guy needs to actually fucking fight, but whatever. More questions than answers, I would say, for me, is what I would say.
Yeah, my main thought after that fight was, I don't know what the hell you do with this guy other than, like, just give him other weird, awkward middleweights. Like, because he's got such a strange, just fucking bizarre style. Actually, the comparison that I made last night was he reminds me of a less effective DDP with slightly better grappling. Like, the same sort of bizarre kind of, I don't even know what you call that striking style. That's just, I don't know, man. But like I said, you get a win, and not only a win but a finish as well over a veteran name like GM3 in your UFC debut, coming in with a pretty good amount of hype from another organization. That's never a bad thing, not at all. And especially having to slot into a co-main event spot here when he was initially expected to be. I don't even know if he was on the main card, and if he was maybe an opener. So, yeah, added pressure to be slotted into the main event with all the shuffling that occurred with this card. So, yeah, good win for RDR, and I don't know what you do with him going forward, but it'll be fun to see what they do.
Let him have a go at Mansour.
No. No.
I don't know. Yeah, I would like to see it, but
too soon.
I don't know how that goes.
Too soon.
Yeah.
Or for Mansour or for RDR.
You throw RDR into the top 15, like at the very back end of the top 15. That's what you would do with him.
You think?
RDR goes rolling for any leg locks against Mansour, he's going to be in some real trouble.
Yeah. Hell, if what's his name? MVP could get a fight with Kevin Holland, who was in the top 15 at the time. Michael Chandler got a fight with. I'm not saying he was a champion when he left, but still, it'd be interesting to see him actually, face the back end of the top 15. Actually number ranked 15 currently, and then go from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. All right, well, you know what that means, gentlemen. There's only one thing left to do to put a bow on this 100th edition of Apexy Fight Nights. That's rating this card. Vibes and scores were at an all-time low last week, so I've been curious to see where we'd come in at this week. Let's pass it over to our Californian can crusher and see how he enjoyed the cans on this card. Austin, do us a favor and rate this event.
Well, can crushing was taking place both in the octagon and in the house, so it was not a bad night at all. Honestly, I would say I'm going to do a gymnastic score, and the gymnastic score was an 8. I think the best you could have had was an 8, which is like mostly finishes and fun, interesting fights, and interesting matchups that played out like, competitively. And I think we got that. Hell, even like the 2 decisions that were there with Gomez and Kovacevic, and then Robinson and Pinero, right?
Three
They
distinct.
were interesting. Three, yes, the three, the Bolanos, if I'm mistaking how he says the name. My apologies. I did not have the audio on.
I think that's
It
right.
was entertaining. Yeah, thank you. Perfect. Okay, good. It was an entertaining card. Everybody, including the decisions, actually, they were all pretty fun to watch, and I think that's the thing you want in an Apex event. If you don't have the name power or the name value, you want entertaining fights, and these guys thankfully brought it. Usually, we don't get that at the Apex. We're lucky if we get maybe a decent amount of finishes, but this was a perfect little concoction for the card. The event played out perfect well. I thought it was a 7.5 for me. 7.5 sounds about right. It wasn't the best event, but you can't complain with what we were given. Matter of fact, you can appreciate the effort that was put into this, at least.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I didn't mind it at all. And good shout on those other fights there that I didn't get a chance to mention there. So. DangerMouse. I know the English are never ones to let an excuse to lift a pint pass. So I'm sure you were enjoying yourself for this celebration as much as the rest of us. What did you rate this Apex 100?
Yeah, it was a good card. If I'd have gone first, I was going to play a little joke there and call it a 10, but it's not a 10. Maybe for an Apex card, it might be a 10 or very close to it. I'll be slightly more generous than Austin. I'm just going to give it a straightforward 8 for as many finishes as there were, in fact. So, yeah, 8 finishes, 8 points. There you go. Nice and easy. Short and sweet.
Woo!
Sound logic. For me, it's the centennial celebration, dudes. You only get one of these. You only get one. And as we discussed, man, the fighters, that were left on the card really tried to live up to the billing. So, like I said on the Discord, there was more finishes than a Diddy party. You can't really get mad about much when people are dropping like flies. Usually I'm the pessimist in the scoring, but I'm going to be a bit optimistic here, and I'm going to go right in between the two of you. I'll go a 7.75.
Ooh.
Yeah. Fun night at our favorite venue. What can you say?
Yes, Degenerate's Delight.
Yeah, good title for a card.
Yeah. Now it's just the march to 200. Here we come.
2030.
Yeah. Dear God.
All right, bleeders. Much like 100 Apex events have come to pass, so too has our time on this here Centennial Celebration edition of the Weekend Roundup. Never fret, however, because we're back like the two old men in the main event next weekend for UFC 309, hosted by none other than our boy DangerMouse.
I'm looking forward to that one.
So until next time, from all of us here at Just Bleed Radio, we'd like to wish everyone a happy Veterans Day once again, and we'll catch y'all on the flip side. Peace.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to all our
We
veterans.
fucking did it. We did it. Oh, sorry. Yes, like Mal said, shout out to the veterans. Yes.
From veterans.
You're allowed to
No,
say that, Dave.
you can't
We're
say
not.
that.
Yeah. Dave can. He's a veteran.
Yeah, I can say that.
Oh my
He's the only one
God.
with clarification. Say it.
What
Yes.
time you for him to appear there?
All right, I'm going to stop the recording, but I don't want to do it before DangerMouse is ready for me to do it. I cut him off last time.
No. I don't really want to keep chatting or just wrap it up. It's up to you guys.
All right. Lost my spot.
Yeah.
And then the other final thing that I wanted to mention is slipping my mind right now, so it might not make the cut.
My mathematical ability has failed me there. Editor.
When do we need a countdown?
Whenever Lazy wants to go, really.
Yeah. We'll go pretty soon here.
Do you want to got 15 minutes on the recording time?
Yeah, sure. That works. Yeah.
2 minutes from now, just over. 3 minutes over, sorry.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.